Right now on Good Morning America, first look, the disaster emergency after severe storms in the east, while the west sees deadly wildfires and record heat, topping 110 degrees in Montana. What to expect today?
The U.S. launching more attacks on Iran overnight. The new prediction about gas prices here at home.
A closer look at Senator Lindsey Graham's apparent cause of death at age 71. And how he's being remembered from colleagues on both sides of the aisle.
Breaking overnight, Jurassic Park actor Sam Neill has died. A look back at his storied career.
Chaos at the Jay-Z concert in New York's Yankee Stadium after reports of a security breach.
Stunning video as a bison attacks this tourist at Yellowstone National Park. Now we hear from a witness what surprised him most about the attack.
New images as flames tear through this crowded bar overseas, killing dozens. What may have caused it?
And later, why the World Cup could be about to expand drastically.
From ABC News, this is Good Morning America, First Look.
Good Monday morning, everyone. I'm Hannah Battaglia.
And I'm Sophie Flay. We begin with weather extremes from coast to coast. One of the wildfires in the west has now turned deadly.
While in northern Minnesota, it could hit 100 degrees today. And from Missouri to Pennsylvania, severe storms and flooding. This morning, a state of emergency declared in Philadelphia after fast-moving microburst storms tore through the city.
We saw utility poles literally split in half like matchsticks.
Straight-line wind gusts of up to 70 miles per hour, ripping roofs off buildings and downing hundreds of trees, many landing on cars.
It was shocking because the car just got paid off.
In Missouri, at least one person is dead and more than 350 people had to be rescued after 6 to 12 inches of rain triggered flash flooding. Black Hawk helicopters were brought in to rescue more than 200 children and staff from a summer camp.
One of the cabins, you couldn't even see because you could only see the tippy top of the roof.
You just feel so helpless as a parent.
The National Weather Service calling it a once-in-a-thousand-years event. Parts of Tennessee and Louisiana also inundated. One person using a paddleboard to navigate the streets near New Orleans. Meanwhile, in the West, a dangerous heat dome is on the move. After fueling wildfires like the 2,700-acre Summit Fire northeast of Los Angeles, the heat expanding eastward, setting records from Utah to Montana. New all-time highs were set in Salt Lake City, where the temperature hit 109, and in Billings, Montana, which hit 111 degrees. International Falls, Minnesota, on the Canadian border, could see its first 100-degree day in more than a century. That heat moves to the East Coast by midweek. Meanwhile, breaking overnight, a plane helping to fight in a wildfire in southern Colorado has crashed into a reservoir. Tragically, the pilot was killed.
The other big story this morning, a new wave of U.S. attacks on Iran overnight. And now Iran claims it caused damage to a U.S. base in the region. All of this is driving oil and gas prices here at home higher. ABC's Karen Hua has more details. Karen, good morning.
Sophie, good morning. U.S. officials say the new wave of strikes overnight hit dozens of targets to weaken Iran's ability to attack ships in the Strait of Hormuz. The attacks targeted air defense systems, coastal radar sites, and small boats. This was a response to more Iranian attacks on ships yesterday. So the tit-for-tat continues. Overnight, Iran claimed to launch more attacks at American bases in the region, from Bahrain and Jordan to Kuwait. All of this is pushing oil prices higher. Gas is up an average of 10 cents per gallon in the last week. Analysts say this will be the first weekly rise in gas costs since back in May. Now, before that new round of strikes yesterday, President Trump suggested the U.S. and Iran were close to a deal to move forward with peace talks. The White House insists negotiations will continue. Hannah?
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. Karen, thanks. A massive fire in Bangkok, Thailand, tore through a crowded bar, killing at least 27 people and injuring dozens of others. People ran for their lives to escape the billowing smoke and flames shooting through the door. Everything inside was charred by the time the fire was brought under control. One witness reports seeing smoke coming from a circuit breaker before the fire started.
Now to the death of Republican Senator Lindsey Graham. His colleagues on both sides of the aisle are explaining why he was so effective in his decades on Capitol Hill, as we learn more about the cause of his death. He was just 71.
New details about the sudden death of Senator Lindsey Graham.
First responders were called to his home Saturday night.
Cardiac arrest.
A preliminary report indicates cause of death was an aortic dissection, a tear in the main artery that carries blood from the heart.
It supplies all the blood supply to the entire body and all of our vital organs. When the aorta ruptures, it can be a fatal event. We know that these types of events occur with greater frequency as people get older, but also hypertension, high cholesterol, smoking are also major risk factors.
Graham celebrated his 71st birthday last Thursday and had just returned from a trip to Ukraine.
The sooner we can have a dialogue about peace, the quicker this war is over.
Doctors say aortic dissection can happen suddenly, without warning, and is not necessarily linked to stress or exertion, but is the result of risk factors like high blood pressure and cholesterol, which weaken the aorta over time. Graham's death echoes one from his own family history. His father died of a heart attack at age 69, just over a year after Graham lost his mother, leaving him without both parents at 22. President Trump says he spoke with Graham Saturday, just before his death.
And he said, I feel good, but I'm tired. He was like a member of the family to me. It's very tough, actually. People don't realize what a good politician he was. He could go in and get something approved.
Colleagues on both sides of the aisle paying their respects.
I am stunned when he would be in the right place at the right time. Man, he could get things done.
His constituents remembering the senator who represented South Carolina for more than 20 years.
Always represented the state with class, never had any kind of scandals.
In Washington, Graham was a fixture in the hallways, quick with the quip, never afraid of a tough question, and famously low tech, joking that he was a proud member of the Congressional Flip Phone Caucus. His critics often noted the contradictions in his career. A one-time Trump critic.
He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot.
Who became one of Trump's closest allies.
He's a great guy, a great politician, actually, and a terrific person who loves the estate. Senator Lindsey Graham. Thank you, Lindsey.
But those who knew him say those shifts were part of the man. A politician who believed he could only get things done for the American people if he remained in power. Graham was especially close with the late Senators John McCain and Joe Lieberman. McCain's widow posting this picture saying, Graham loved his country deeply and devoted himself to it every day.
A special primary election will be held August 11th to determine who replaces Graham on the ballot in November.
Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell has broken his silence about his latest health issues following a long absence from the Senate. McConnell released a photo with his wife, saying he suffered a fall last month, which he says left him briefly unconscious and landed him in the hospital. McConnell seen holding Sunday's Washington Post, and he's also fought pneumonia, but did not have a heart attack or stroke, and intends to finish his term before retiring in January.
Chaos before a Jay-Z concert at Yankee Stadium here in New York last night. Thousands of fans were locked out after police say a large group of people broke through security, triggering a lockdown at the stadium. The show was scheduled to start at 8 p.m., but gates did not reopen until just before 10. Jay-Z eventually took to the stage after midnight.
Time now for your Monday weather.
Good Monday morning. After record-shattering heat across much of the Intermountain West over the weekend, places like Salt Lake City, Billings, Montana getting their all-time highest temperatures ever. That heat will shift into portions of the upper Midwest. If International Falls hits 100 today, that'll be the first time in more than a century that you've hit the century mark there. Rapid City getting well up into the hundreds today, tomorrow, into Wednesday. Same deal with Salt Lake City. Meanwhile, nice in the northeast, some rain over the southeast, and some monsoon showers and thunderstorms over the desert southwest. Meteorologist Jeff Smith, ABC News.
Coming up, remembering Jurassic Park actor Sam Neill.
But first, the wild video of bison attacking a tourist at Yellowstone. We hear from a witness who tried to intervene.
And restaurants now changing their menus because of a parasite outbreak linked to produce spreading across the country.
We're back with the effect that 700 sticks of dynamite can have on this old hotel in Kansas City. The 50-year-old Embassy Suites making way for a new hospital parking lot. The elevator shaft that remains standing will be taken down, and the site will take several months to clear.
Now to Wyoming, and dramatic video of a bison attacking a tourist.
These are the moments a grandfather visiting Yellowstone National Park was attacked by a bison and thrown 8 feet into the air. A local photographer saw it happen.
I really didn't think that he was going to pick those two people of all the people who were even way closer.
Look out, bison! The bison was resting on the grass when the grandfather and his grandson walk into view, stopping to take photos.
They were plenty far away, in my opinion. They were not too close.
The bison begins to charge them. The grandfather tries hiding in the trees, but the bison is laser focused, flipping him in the air.
He was in a lot of pain and he was trying to not move his leg, but his immediate concern was for his grandson.
Bison can weigh more than 1,500 pounds, and summer is an especially dangerous time to be around them.
So we're at the peak of what's called the bison rut. And this is where the males are just raging in hormones because they're fighting for territories and they're fighting for females.
It's not the first time we've seen bison charging tourists at Yellowstone. Last year, a man escaped after trying to feed one. And in 2022, a man was hospitalized after a bison charged at the man and his family.
The key thing to do is to move away slowly. Do not run. Do not make any fast types of movements.
As for that latest attack, the grandfather is recovering from serious injuries. We're told his grandson is okay.
Some restaurants are now changing their menus as a parasitic intestinal infection linked to produce spreads across the country. The CDC is tracking cases of cyclosporiasis across at least 31 states, from California to New York. The darkest colored states on this map have been hit hardest, including Michigan, with more than 1,500 cases. Officials have been unable to link the contamination to one supplier or grower. The CDC says outbreaks have typically been linked to fresh produce, such as lettuce, cilantro, and raspberries.
With some foodborne illness, you get sick for about 24 to 48 hours, and then you get better. With this particular illness, the symptoms come and go, and they can last for weeks to up to a month.
Right now, I would not buy pre-bagged, pre-washed lettuce mixes. I would prefer for folks to buy whole leafy greens, whole lettuces, remove those outer layers before washing.
To reduce your risk, wash all fruits and vegetables and refrigerate any produce that's been cut, peeled, or cooked within 2 hours. Taco Bell is now among the restaurants tweaking its menu at some locations. And coming up, the death of beloved actor Sam Neill, known for his role on Jurassic Park.
Also ahead, the bizarre moment at this WNBA game. A player throwing her shoe, hitting another player.
And here it is right here, coming right up.
Back now with the standing ovation received by Prince William, his wife Kate, and their 2 oldest children as they arrived at Wimbledon's Royal Box for yesterday's men's final. Among the others in the box, Jennifer Lopez, Dustin Hoffman, and Nicole Kidman. Later, Princess Kate awarded the championship trophy to Italy's Yannick Sinner in his 5th Grand Slam title. Dramatic moments in the WNBA. A player for the New York Liberty was ejected for hitting an opposing player with a shoe. The shoe was thrown by Benijah Laney Hamilton, hit a Toronto player. Liberty's coach later said Laney Hamilton was trying to toss the shoe back to her teammate and didn't mean to hit anyone.
Now to the breaking news overnight, the death of actor Sam Neill.
To millions, he was Dr. Alan Grant.
It's a dinosaur.
The reluctant hero of Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park. Sam Neill, the actor who brought quiet gravity to some of the biggest films of his generation, has died. Born in Northern Ireland and raised in New Zealand, Neill's career spanned more than 50 years. He found his breakout role in the 1977 film Sleeping Dogs, but it wasn't until the 1990s when he became known worldwide.
Actually, I think I will need 2 wives. Oh, at least.
Starring alongside Sean Connery in The Hunt for Red October before landing the role that would define his career.
She was my favorite when I was a kid. Now I see she's the most beautiful thing I ever saw.
Reprising that role in Jurassic Park 3 and Jurassic World Dominion. He'd established himself as an actor with singular range, appearing in the critically acclaimed film The Piano.
I heard it here. I heard a voice there in my head.
And starring in the classic horror film In the Mouth of Madness. He took to the small screen too, appearing in The Tudors and Peaky Blinders. In 2023, he revealed he'd been treated for blood cancer, writing, "I'm not afraid to die, but it would annoy me." Earlier this year, Neill revealed that he was cancer-free after a groundbreaking treatment.
I was at a loss, and it looked like I was on the way out.
there is no cancer in my body. That's an extraordinary thing.
Overnight, his family saying Sam was surrounded by family and passed with the dignity that has characterized his whole life. The loss was sudden and unexpected, but blessed by the fact that Sam remained cancer-free. Sam Neill was 78.
Neill's former manager said he will be missed by film lovers, wine lovers, and anyone lucky enough to have met him.
Most certainly. Coming up, the best state to live in, according to a new study looking at the quality of life.
Also ahead, a now famous dog gets his day at the ballpark. Time to check the pulse. We begin with the best state to live in.
A new study takes into account crime, air quality, healthcare, and economic factors. And Nebraska was ranked #1 for the 6th consecutive year.
Rounding out the top 5 are Massachusetts, North Dakota, Virginia, and New Hampshire. Next, the queen of pop is back on top.
Oh yeah, Madonna's latest album, Confessions 2, debuted at the top of the Billboard chart, her 10th album to do so. At 67 years young, Madonna is now in good company with the Beatles, the only other artists to score 10 #1 hits on the Billboard 200.
Another major milestone for Michael, the movie about Michael Jackson, is now the first biopic to top the $1 billion in global ticket sales. It's already beat Oppenheimer as the highest-grossing biopic ever. Next, an even bigger World Cup.
Yeah, how does 64 teams sound? FIFA's president says expanding from the 48-team tournament to 64 teams is going to be discussed. That could happen as soon as 2030.
Meanwhile, FIFA says there's no evidence the ball struck in overhead wire in Saturday's England-Norway match, leading to England's tying goal. Norway says the ball hit the wire, which should have stopped the play. The semifinals kick off tomorrow with France versus Spain. England plays Argentina Wednesday. Next, it was Jonah's big day at the Miami Marlins game.
Yeah, Jonah became famous last month at a game where owners could bring their dogs. Jonah was seen staring patiently at another dog chowing down on a hot dog.
Well, to reward his good behavior, the Marlins made Jonah the guest of honor at yesterday's game. He joined his owner for the first pitch and watched the game with lots of treats. And finally, a florist went above and beyond and behind for a bride and groom.
Yeah, so she created a beautiful floral arrangement for an outdoor New York wedding, but thunderstorms moved in, snapping the arrangement in two just before the ceremony.
So she jumped into action, laying down behind the arrangement, holding it together in the rain for 30 minutes while they exchanged vows. Headlines next. Checking more top stories. Nolan Wells' mother is asking for anyone with photos from Horn Island to turn them over to Mississippi authorities and her legal team. The 18-year-old's body was found in the waters near that island after a July 4th boat trip with friends. The family is also trying to retrieve deleted messages from his phone.
U.S. forces launched new airstrikes overnight in Iran. Officials say they hit dozens of targets in response to more Iranian attacks on ships in the Strait of Hormuz.
Congressman Ro Khanna accuses the Israeli military of lying about his detention during a visit to the West Bank. Israel says its soldiers did not detain Khanna. Khanna claims settlers and soldiers detained him for an hour.
A naked man was arrested in Portland, Oregon after police say he tried to kidnap a 7-year-old. The girl's mother held onto her arm and the suspect fled.
Today's weather: rain across most of the south, strong storms in the southwest. Record heat for the plains and Midwest.
And finally, one way to improve your public speaking abilities.
Here's Danny New.
I'm really no good at speech making. Normally, I get so nervous that I faint.
When it comes to public speaking, many people may feel like Anne Hathaway's character in The Princess Diaries.
The topic is tangled earbuds.
But earlier this year, a 24-year-old in Charlotte decided she'd had enough of that fear.
How much has this changed your life over these past 6 months?
I would say it's completely changed my life.
Since February, Mona Sue here has been picking up millions of views online. As she challenges herself daily to, for example, speak on a randomly generated topic for a minute straight.
I think it's really just about practice. You have to put yourself out there over and over again.
Mona works in tech as a data scientist, and as she entered the workforce a few years ago, she says she felt unprepared.
You're kind of just thrust into the workforce and you're expected to know how to communicate. About a year ago, I was working a corporate job.
So late last year, she joined the nonprofit Toastmasters to get some practice and even started mirroring TED Talk speakers to, for example, learn what to do with their hands.
I'm going to start working out later.
But it was this 30-day challenge to speak on a random topic that really catalyzed her journey. Mona even used her tech skill set to build a website called SpeechTopicGen.com. At first, it was just to generate topics for her, but that didn't last long. One commenter writing, "You are doing a great job. I'm so inspired. I am starting my 30-day challenge."
Now I feel like very confident, very happy to talk to people that I've never talked to before. So I would say it's definitely opened up like a whole new world for me.
Just spun the generator. Let's see what we got. Roast self-checkout machines. Okay, actually, self-checkout machines are very confusing. I always end up having to call someone over to help me. Guys, you could talk forever about this, right?
Certainly, and yeah, we know you could too, Danny. That's your Good Morning America First Look.
Have a great day.